Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Katie Avila. I'm the VP of Human Resources for Transco Lines. We're really excited to hold such a special event with our TLI family tonight. This is a special week for us, but really every week's a special week because we get to work side by side with you all, and you guys make our jobs wonderful. Without our drivers, we wouldn't be here. So we really wanted to take time to get in front of everybody. I just have a few housekeeping items before we get started, before I turn it over to Terry. If you are on the screen, you won't be able to talk, as you could probably see, but there is a Q&A section. So if you do have a question or a comment, you could leave that comment in the Q&A section. That will go directly to me. We will try to get back to the questions individually. So we will respond to those individually. For iPhone users, it's going to be 3 dots at the bottom of your screen. You're going to click on the Q&A section. If for Android users, it's going to be the 3 dots at the top of your screen. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Wallace and put the PowerPoint presentation on the screen here.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Great to be with you today. If it looks like I've got some sort of contraption on me, it's not true that Katie had to strap me to a chair to be here today. I've got a thing on my shoulder here. I had a rotator cuff surgery a week ago, so that prevented me from being over in Arkansas this week and participating directly in Driver Appreciation Week, and for that I'm truly sorry. It's a highlight of the year for me. For those of you who don't know, my father was a truck driver. No, I didn't inherit a trucking company or anything like that. He was a truck driver. I think at the zenith of his career, he had 2 trucks. Started out as an owner-operator and then finished his career as a company driver. And I will tell you this, that he was not a million miler, but of course he was a 10 million miler to me. And he was a great role model for me as a driver and what it took to be successful. And I can remember growing up in Wisconsin, and we had the trucks surrounded in the wintertime with wood paneling with a barn heater underneath it to keep it warm so it would get going so he could leave out on time. And I can tell you, as we start out here with safety awards, we start every meeting with safety, by the way, in our organization. And I would tell you that, he was exceptionally proud of the safety belt buckles and the awards that he had. And I was even prouder of them. So, because it takes a lot to get them. I know just from all the miles I put on each year, how difficult it is to stay safe in a 4-wheeler, let alone an 18-wheeler. So without any more, Katie, let's go ahead and start with let's do the agenda real quick. We'll go to that and then we'll get into the safety awards. Next point, I guess. Next. Or is it for me to do it? Katie, you there? Can you do page 2?
Yeah. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen here. Hold on.
That's all right. That's
okay. Got it?
That's okay. Yeah. So you're driving the train here, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Carrie, who is gracing our screen right now, and I understand is gracing your presence there in North Little Rock, has been with us since 2014. I've got some notes here, so if I look down, that's what I'm looking at. But been with us since September of 2014, and currently resides in Georgia. But as she told me earlier in the week, she's moving to Tennessee soon to be closer to family. And it took her roughly 11 years to achieve her 1 million safe miles with us. Her driver manager, Janae, she's amazing to work with, which we know, never complains and just magically makes things happen. I wish I had a fleet full of Carries. She's a proud and loving grandmother and mother, and quick to show off the babies. The amount of working knowledge she has and shares, I might add, is very helpful to our newer drivers. And Carrie, recently lost her husband, who had worked with us, and I know that he would be very proud of this day. So, Carrie, I couldn't help but mention that. So I'm sorry, didn't mean to embarrass you if I did. So, I'm sure he's looking down on you right now, very proud. So congratulations to Carrie Moy on a 1 million mile award. She's going to be now on our million miler wall out front. Michael Gracia. Michael has been with us since July of 2016, lives in California. Took him roughly 9 years to achieve his million safe miles with us. He's currently half of a team with Jason Bullard, and they are running on the Estes account. His driver manager, Tucker, says he's one of the hardest workers on his fleet and has a great attitude, as you can tell by the smile in the picture, and phenomenal transit times. Congratulations to Michael. Thank you so very much. Cecil Betty, 1 million miles. Cecil's been with TLI since September of 2016 and currently lives in Florida. He is half of a team with Brian Craddock, and it took him roughly 9 years to achieve his million safe miles with us. Unfortunately, we didn't get a picture in time as he is at home celebrating the birth of a child, of his child. So congratulations, Cecil. Per Kevin Norris, he has always conducted himself in a professional manner. That's Cecil, by the way, not Kevin Norris. Running hazmat, doubles for me, and Southeastern Freight Lines for the majority of his time here, which, by the way, is hard work. Those folks they're moving and shaking all the time. He runs a very demanding, dedicated lane, and has always been a driver I can rely on week in and week out. That says a lot right there. He's willing to help when he is called upon to do anything that is needed. We appreciate his dedication to TLI, and congratulations to Cecil. Thank you very much. And James and Suzanne Biggs, I understand you guys are in the building there. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there. Would have loved to have celebrated this with you. Congratulations. James and Suzanne have been with us since August of 2015 and currently live in Texas. They've been running for Estes most recently. The team took about 10 years to achieve their million safe miles with us. And again, according to Tucker, they do a fantastic job with their dedicated route they've had for about the last 5 years. Additionally, they're always on time, and they have a smile on their face while doing so. So we appreciate you guys very much. Thanks, James and Suzanne. Congratulations. And the last but not least of the Million Mile Awards this week or this year, Ricky and Tawana Bible have been with us since June of 2015. Wonderful people. Currently live in Texas. The team took about 10 years to achieve their million safe miles with us and are currently running for our Southeastern account. Ricky and Tawana are currently leasing a truck, and per Kevin, they are very dedicated drivers. Not only that, but they run an extremely difficult account for TLI and do a wonderful job of doing it. And I will also say, just as with the Biggs team, they're class acts, absolutely total class acts. We're very proud to have them, as well as all of you as part of the team. So I will tell you that achieving 1 million safe miles is extremely difficult, very hard to do, as you guys all know that are the winners today. And our million miler wall, every time I walk in the door and I look at that wall, it's just I'm so proud that I've had the opportunity to work with people who are such professionals and so good at their craft. Because these are people that are experts in their craft. Anyway, so thank you very much. So very proud of you, and hope that this is a special day for you. It's a special day for us. With that, I'll go to a little business update. The intention here was really to talk a little, more about, well, a little bit about the, what's going on in the industry, as well as what we're doing at Transco Lines. Unfortunately, it's not a real, interactive conversation, because I'm not there. Plus, we're talking to people that are out and about the country. So, if you've got questions, please don't hesitate to submit them, as Katie said, and we'll get that done, and get a chance to answer those here toward the end. I get a lot of questions from drivers who, you hear things on Road Dog Radio or whatever, news that you might, be listening to, or other drivers, what really, is happening out there. So some of the data I'm sharing with you is just really kind of what's going on. Why are we still struggling with too many trucks, chasing too few loads, after all this time, going on now over 3 years, since the peak of COVID. And so the first slide is really a measure of what this graph, and I know it's kind of hard for people to see perhaps, but what this is it's a data that maybe many of you didn't know what was tracked, but it's an outbound tender rejection index. What does that mean? This tracks the percentage of loads tendered by shippers to carriers that are rejected by carriers. Okay, so the larger the percentage, the more robust the freight market. Okay, so if shippers were tendering loads and carriers were rejecting them, let's say 15% of the time, that means that carriers have got plenty of freight, and there's extra freight out there, and that would mean that we've got leverage to raise prices and do some other things. Well, that, very clearly you can see that's not the case. In fact, we've got a blip in July because of the 4th of July holiday, and back in June because of the mainly owner operators that came off the road during the road inspection week. You see, we blow all the way up to 7%, which is really nothing. It's really not much at all. We saw a little bit of a spike up at the end of the year last year, which is where you see the red box, where some people, not us, were fooled into thinking that maybe all is going to be better and 2025 is going to be a bright sunny year in the trucking industry. But you can see in right after the first of the year, February or March, that dropped off the table to the point where there were next to no rejections of freight whatsoever. Everyone was taking anything that was offered. We took advantage of that, of let's say the fool's gold that people were peddling early in the year, and that's when we decided to go ahead and sell some of our oldest trucks, and we did well doing it, because people thought the party was back on again, and we knew better. So. And by the way, anytime someone wants to, hey, Terry, what's the latest outbound tender rejection index chart? We'll be happy to show these kind of things to you. So next slide. This is a quick indicator. Bank of America, as you know, one of the world's largest banks, and they have a global research arm specializing in truckload transportation, and they regularly survey shippers in dry van truckload, and it's there's surveys and then there's surveys. Bank of America does a really good scientific survey, very comprehensive. Lot of shippers and a lot of intelligent people that participate. So I tend to give this, some credibility. And you can see, this was August 8th survey, and the demand view, which is freight demand. Okay, so that's demand for our services. That's freight, basically. A bit of a concern, drop below the freight recession average. Okay, well, the freight recession average is when they go back during recent periods in our history, and when we were in a freight recession, and that's the measure that they're saying. So, and we definitely don't want to see it get below 50. Couple things I highlighted there. We're down below the three most recent freight recession averages of 2012, 2015, and 2019. And then the bottom one says shippers remain somewhat cautious going into peak season. Peak season. We really don't expect peak to be much of a peak, frankly. It's going to be fairly muted. You know, we'll see some modest demand increase, but we're expecting it to be fairly muted. So next slide. One thing that's impacted here, and I wanted to point this out, is when freight demand is softer than we would like, or we've got, in this case, too many trucks chasing loads, that it affects everybody, not just trucking companies. So it's our vendors, and our suppliers. Think about it. The truck stop chains are slower than they have been. Parts suppliers, all these people, are feeling the pinch as well, and including banks. Man, the largest bank for transportation is BMO, which is formerly called the Bank of Montreal, but it's BMO, and that they purchased the GE Transportation Group about, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. And the primary lenders, when you buy a truck or a trailer, are generally going to be the OEM, which is the original equipment manufacturer. So let's say you buy a Freightliner. Oftentimes, Daimler Freightliner will do the financing, but outside of that, you've got BMO, which is very concentrated, or has a group that's concentrated in the trucking industry, and they're doing so poorly with their results on trucking loans that they're putting their transportation group up for sale. Just over on the side, left-hand side here, just a couple things. BMO had gross loans to trucking in 2023 of almost $16 billion. That's down to $10 billion now in 2 years. So, over a 36% drop, which means they are not lending to trucking. Okay. And they're trying to see customers in trucking go elsewhere. They see trucking as challenged and not a great place for them to be loaning money. Loans categorized as impaired, which they have to do by law, are in the last report $503 million, which is up from a normal quarter-to-quarter number of $65 to $75 million. So you can see I didn't do the math on that, but that's 7 times or some number. The normal amount of money they've got to categorize as impaired. So in bold, I put, this is great news for us. Okay, this is great news, right? I mean, it's a cloudy day for others means a sunny day today or a sunny day in the future for Transco Lines. Okay, so fleets that are not making money and cannot borrow more money will die. And I hate to be so graphic, but that's what we need, right? We need trash to leave the industry. So. And then the last point I was going to make is, too many non-trucking lenders got in during COVID. So small banks that historically lent to farmers and small town things that got into, well, yeah, I'll start loaning on trucks because everybody was out buying trucks to get in during COVID, and then things crashed, and they were like, what do I do now? I don't know how to repossess a truck. I don't know how to sell a truck. What do I do? So they let these people run around the country. Not making payments or making interest-only payments, which means they can haul freight for next to free. And that's been a lot of what's happened in the last couple of years. And that's that party is coming to an end. And you're hearing more now about used truck values dropping in the marketplace. And that means that banks and carriers are parking trucks. It means that banks are repossessing trucks, and there's more used trucks hitting the marketplace than there is demand for them. That's a good thing for us. That means things are changing the way we need it to. Next slide. So you probably have heard, if you've been around me much, I have said things like, we ran out of beer 3 years ago, but these idiot carriers will not leave the party. That's just, and it's all true. If I back in the original slide, I'll come back to that later. A saying by George Carlin is, that there's a lot of people who, think they know something, but they don't. How did we get here? Right? I mean, if you look at, the amount of money that the government primarily, all well-intentioned to start with, by the way, throughout, we had people not, at home or doing whatever, but we were throwing a lot of money at people. And and that finished up with an Inflation Reduction Act, which is the most ironic name of any act maybe in history, because it actually did just the opposite. But trillions of dollars that got thrown out to be spent that are gone. They dried up. Okay, so basically putting a needle into the arm of every American consumer, pumping drugs in, and then suddenly pulling it out. That's what happened. So during that, of course, we had all kinds of freight. You didn't have to be any good to get to make money in trucking, and so we drew a lot of flies, and a lot of people paid a lot of money for their trucks, and they got a lot of money during that period, and then they've been unwilling to leave because they wanted to burn through or had to burn through every dollar they possibly could, thinking that life would get better. Next slide. This is a quick comparison of cycles. Okay, so you look at the 2004, 2014, 2018, 2021 boom cycles. Okay, these were let's say good cycles in trucking. By the way, you'll note that there's a lot of years in between typically. So, trucking is not a great year every year by any stretch of the imagination. So, but you look at, oh my gosh, I mean, the reds, the booms and other times are, the market, we're up 3%, 2%, 4%, 5%. And then, in durable goods, just for example, we're up 23% in 2021. Well, that obviously is not sustainable, right? It's not going to last. I mean, how many washers and dryers and new jacuzzis and whatever you had, how many can you buy, right? Before you're done, and frankly, before the spigot of money turns out, right? So, next slide. One point I wanted to make is just, which you all know this instinctively, but our business is driven by the ability and sentiments of the American consumer. Okay, and never forget that. The inflation and the 24-hour news cycle has dampened enthusiasm for customer spending, and when consumers don't spend, there's fewer truckloads going down the highway, right? If the news is negative. If I don't do a lot of social media, but if you're scrolling through and most of what you're looking at is negative stuff, doesn't matter about your political affiliations, if any, whatever it may be, if the news is generally bad, you don't feel like spending money, okay? Or if you do, it's on booze and candy. Businesses that we're not really in, okay, in a big way, but I digress. So that matters, right? People's perception matters. And so, it's hard if people aren't feeling good about things, they're not going to spend that money. And so people may say, oh, hey, 3 months from now, it's going to be great. Well, again, if the consumer's not feeling great, they're not going to spend the money, even if you give them more money to spend. So something that I kind of live by, that I've mentioned here is, positivity may not ensure victory, but I can promise you negativity will guarantee you don't win. Next slide. This is a slide showing, that what was going on during the COVID period. We were a lot of cash was available, but also not just handouts, but people weren't traveling as much. People, so they were building up savings, which you see over on the left-hand side of this graph. And then as you get over into 2025 in the first quarter, you've got people are again, generally speaking, basically spending what they're making. Okay. Well, that doesn't, as I said up above, that does not bode well for improved freight demand for those carriers not like Transco Lines, who are banking on a demand recovery, because if the consumer is essentially spending all they're making, they don't have a lot of money to spend on something else, right? And with interest rates higher, borrowing is lower. You've seen new housing starts have been lower. That drives down demand. Okay, so next slide. This is just an example of, there's real data, real history to support, that when rates have declined in the past, there's a direct correlation to capacity exits. Okay, and if you're not familiar with demand and capacity. Okay, capacity is us, it's trucks. Okay, demand is freight. So, when rates go down, there's a 79% correlation to capacity exiting the industry. However, capacity has only declined 4% in the 3 years since peak capacity was achieved in July of 2022. What the heck? This is what I mean by, look, we ran out of beer, but they're not leaving. Okay. They're burning through savings. They may have deals with banks where they're running trucks until the bank comes and repos the truck, whatever it may be. Doesn't mean they're out there making money. It just means that they're running for free, and so they can haul low rated freights. I said, you see rates falling. The dark blue there are the rates that are falling, and I put in a couple of red arrows, and so you see the rates going down, but then now in 2024 and 2025, you see capacity is kind of flattened. They really haven't left yet. So now we're seeing that pick up, okay? But it's the amazing thing that makes you wonder what is going on, that these people can afford to stay in the business and haul the freight at the rates that are being dictated by shippers. And if you're a shipper, hey, your job is to save money, for your customer. That's how you feed your family. It's not that they're doing something evil. They've got plenty of trucks out there willing to haul it for that low rate, and so they do it. Next slide. New truck orders are down big time. This is always a gauge you want to look at. By no means are trucking company owners smart people, me included. Okay, that's me especially, I should say. So, what happens typically is if the freight market looks like it's getting better, you'll see new truck sales, new truck orders spike. Okay, because at the first sign things are better, we are knuckleheads. Okay, we will run out and we will place orders, and we're going to be the first ones out there with more trucks, because that's just who we are. We weren't smart enough to get into some other business, so we got into being owning trucking companies. But you see what's happening here is that year over year down 18% off of what was already a slower year. You see a comment there: softness in the for-hire market continues to weigh on Class 8 orders. And then you also see ACT Act, which does this data, noted that vocational demand is softened due to regulatory uncertainty, tariffs, and elevated interest rates. So what does that mean for us? Well, we feel actually a couple things. One is we love to see this. Okay, we love to see people can't buy new trucks. All right, so at some point it's they're going to go away. We feel a little bit of an impact because we do quite a bit of business with PACCAR, Kenworth and Peterbilt. Peterbilt last year was propped up a lot by the fact that we had they had a lot of vocational trucks being built because the Class 8 market was slow. So that helped us out. We're still hauling Cummins engines for that and other products, but so we're seeing some impact there. I would tell you that the tariffs are working in this case because Peterbilt is moving production out of Mexico for some of their products and moving it to the Denton, Texas plant, which will help us because of some of the engines and things that we haul into that plant. But that also takes time. So next slide. This is just a question of the day. I'm not going to, get into this. This is not a, as I said on the left-hand side, this is not about politics. Okay. This is one for all of us to ponder on. The question is really about, is everyone playing by the same laws and regulations? Okay. So since 2020 through the first quarter of 2025, you've had a total of 689,000 new CDLs issued. Okay, net, all right, over the far right-hand side. 10 states in the country have issued 800,000 of them. So 10 states out of, let's call it 48, okay? 10 states have issued 800,000 CDLs. And the other states, the other 38 states, have a net decrease of almost 111,000 CDLs. Our Are all of those net 689,000 people really, as I mentioned up above, and I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, are there imposters enabled to drive up and down our roads posing as professionals, right? And you've heard things here recently about the government maybe starting to enforce rules and regulations that have been in place for many years, some of them almost 20 years. Okay, this is not they've been in place but not enforced. And I've seen data that shows up to 15% of these CDLs out there running around would not pass. Now, you saw from previous slides, it wouldn't take 15%. A movement of 3%, 4% would be huge in our industry, okay? Huge movement of capacity in our industry. So when you look at, when someone says to you, these carriers have to go out of business, okay, well, if JB Hunt goes out of business, and they're not, but if they went out of business, would all those drivers leave the industry? Of course not, right? They're going to go work for somebody else as long as there's jobs available, okay? So it's really is how many CDLs are leaving the industry? How many drivers are leaving the industry? Okay, it's really not a carrier count kind of thing. So if we see that, roadside inspections, enforcement officials begin to enforce and protect the people that I'm talking to today, who are real professionals and came by their CDL properly, earned it the right way, would it help us and therefore help you to get more miles, get higher pay because we have more leverage over rate increases? The answer is yes. So it's all on, are people going to enforce it? And in the case of these 10 states, did they let some people through that maybe shouldn't have been let through? And I'll leave it at that. Next slide. So we've had some, today, by the way, interest rates, the Fed interest rates, which is not a direct correlation on our business, but it has an impact, right? Again, you talk to people's perception, right, of how things are going and the real cost of funds. Interest rates were dropped 0.25% today, which I, in my personal opinion, would not have supported more. I think there's a lot of noise in the system yet. 0.25 point sends the right message that we want to, recognize that job growth has slowed, but inflation is still higher than we would like. And I believe they forecasted they might lower 2 more times this year, subject to data coming in. So what does that mean? What is the historical impact on truckload stock prices? What's that when the Fed lowers rates? Now, by the way, this is when the Fed rate goes down by 1% or 100 basis points. Okay, so if the Fed lowers rates by another 0.25% the next 2 times this year, that'd be 0.75, 75 basis points. So we wouldn't get to the 100 basis points until maybe sometime in the first quarter of next year. Well, so after the Fed has lowered rates by 1%, you see up there where I highlighted 6 months after that, truckload prices are up 29.4%, 1 year 35%, 2 years 56%. By the way, I'm not telling you to go out and buy stock in trucking companies. Okay, that is not what I'm telling you to do. So don't anybody say, hey Terry, you come back a year from now and say, hey Terry, you told me to buy that trucking stock and I didn't do well. Don't want to hear that. What it means is that historically, okay, is that when the Fed lowers interest rates, trucking companies respond with better earnings and better performance, which are reflected in stock pricing. Okay, this obviously is not a normal time, so that's a big cautionary tale there. But it should mean good news. And then you see where I highlight at the bottom, this timing aligns squarely with our constructive view on the transportation complex. This was put out by Baird, by the way, B-A-I-R-D, an investment firm. For the full year 2026, assuming the Fed begins cutting in September and additional reductions follow. Okay, so again, things don't happen immediately. We still need more capacity to leave, and then 2026 could be a year where things get a little bit better. Next slide, please. All right. Well, if you're at all a military person, or you, especially Marines, or if you're a World War II history buff like I am, you might know who Lieutenant General Chesty Puller was. One of his many quotes was, they're on our right, they're on our left, they're in front of us, they're behind us. They can't get away this time. I would tell you that from where we're at, we see what's happening in the marketplace today as exhausting as it can be, because we can be impatient about when's it going to get better, because we want to go to customers, we want to take price increases, we want to increase driver pay, we want to go out and do this, we want to go out and do that. And we can't unleash the hounds, because again, we still got people hanging out at the place that need to leave yet. But I will tell you, we continue to win by kicking butt with our relentless focus on service and cost efficiency. And I'm going to introduce Wade Rubin to you here in a minute, our Chief Commercial Officer, first ever in our history. And he's going to talk a little bit about the impact that when he goes in and calls on customers, the impact that our service offering has. Every single load matters. Cost efficiency is, hey, if you can shut the truck off, shut the truck off. I'm telling you, every single half gallon of fuel makes a difference, okay? We continue to invest in the business by getting rid of older trucks and trailers and buying new trucks. Ask other carriers out there that you see going up and down the highway if they're getting new trucks, okay? Well, you saw the truck orders graph, okay? So you know what's going on out there. Your company is investing millions of dollars in new trucks, okay? You might say, if you were my financial advisor, you might say, Terry, I think you should buy AT&T stock and collect the 7% dividend and call it a day. But that's not what we do here, right? We're in trucking. This is what we do. We're going to make sure we continue to invest in the fleet even when others are not. So we've got 300 older trailers that'll be gone by the end of the year that we're in the process of parking and turning in. Some of you maybe had to do that. Our oldest trailer will be a 2017. Our mission, led by our executives and the lovely and talented Katie Avila and Human Resources, we retain and hire only the very best in every department and over the road. We will never compromise. All others we will supply with our competitors' phone numbers and wish them well, okay? We created a Chief Commercial Officer position. What is that? It's a fancy way of saying a really nice guy who's in charge of sales, okay, with a lot of experience. We created a Chief Commercial Officer position earlier this year, and after a national search, we filled it with Wade Rubin, who we feel very fortunate to have added to our team. We're really glad Wade is here. Wade added 2 more sales executives, because that's what sales executives do. They go out and hire more people first thing they do. I'm kidding, but Wade added 2 more sales executives to his team between February and April. And I'll tell you real quick, I don't know that we had a salesperson at the company, or if we did, it was for a short time until we were, a couple $100 million in sales between Riverside and Transco Lines. And so when we talk about adding a Chief Commercial Officer position and adding a couple of salespeople, that's adding a lot of staff that we've never had before. Okay, our sales department is running up and down the highway every day. That's our sales department. Okay. As Wade can tell you, we have won going on $37 million of new business year to date 2025. And the definition of won is not if somebody we already do $2 million with awarded us $2 million again, that would be 0. Okay. If someone we do $2 million of business with awarded us $3 million, we would count that as $1 million of won new business. Okay. So the team is out there working their tails off and doing a great job. And that includes our pricing folks, Brandon Russell and Josh Arend. Then the next point was we fired the old president, namely me. Well, not really. But we did kick me upstairs and secure a new a new leader for TLI, and Sean McMahon. Sean's presence in Arkansas every day and his outstanding experience and leadership is a tremendous asset for us and another weapon in our vast arsenal. We're really happy to have Sean on the team. Being able to add the kind of experience that we have with people like a Wade, like a Sean, to our team, is when other carriers are cutting heads, we are investing wisely in talent. Okay, the future's bright. The freight downturn has made us even better. When we're going through the COVID period, we could get a little sloppy because we could cover up mistakes with price increases. That's not the case now. Now we got to be good, and the downturn has caused us to be good, even better than we were before, and we're ready to come out the other side. And lastly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, we have the best people, and it takes great people to win. Beat yesterday every day, and if we live by that, we'll continue to kick butt. Next slide. So Terry, what do we do? I just would say maintain the right state of mind, okay? Chaos will continue, right? It's going to be up and down and, whipsaws, which is I refer to here in the next bullet point. But, we just keep on keeping on. We've got a good plan. We run a good business. We can get better at what we do. We can always improve service. We can always improve maintenance. We can always lower our fuel costs further. We can always do things to improve our business, and that's what each and every one of us needs to be doing every single day. And as long as we're doing that in a responsible way, we come out the other side, better and then bigger. Stay nimble. Whipsaw is normal. I mean, anybody who thinks that trucking is tell me when a normal year was. I've been at this 40 years. Tell me which of the 40 years was normal. I don't know that it happened. Okay. So stay nimble, be ready to change, and which we are, and then control what you can control. Now that people when they say this, control what you can control. What does that mean? Does it mean just, hey, chill out? It does not. It means get up on the edge of your seat. Okay. And be ready to take action and control what you can control. All right. Be in charge of what you are responsible for. That's what that means. Okay. Don't worry about things that you're not in charge of. But if you're in charge of that truck, you're in charge of that, working on that truck, you're in charge of this fleet of drivers. That means control what you can control. Stay focused on that. Don't worry about other things. And then let's hope that sometime in 2026, we're going to be able to turn all of this expertise that we've got and our resources into making more money and growing and doing wonderful things for the people that are here and the communities that we are in, which is what we're all about. So, next slide. And now a word from Wade Rubin, the well-known but not too well-known Wade Rubin, our Chief Commercial Officer. I'd ask, thanks Wade for you're out there in Eastern Time Zone. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. He's anxious to do it. I just wanted, sometimes when you're working for us or working with us, you don't get to you don't know who else there is on the team, and so I wanted to ask Wade if you could just spend 2 minutes and 37 seconds here talking to everybody.
All right, I'm clocked.
Thanks, Wade.
No problem, Terry. Thanks. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Wade Rubin, and I joined TLI back on February 1st. So still a little bit of a rookie, but settling in. So just a little bit about myself. I started my career with Knight back in 2001 when it was just 2,500 trucks. I spent 7 years there, bouncing all over the U.S., just learning about regional truckload operations. From there, jumped over to Martin Transport. Again, small. It was smaller then, and helped build up their dedicated division, which was about a $330 million operation when I left it. Sticking to the operations theme, after that, I moved over to NFI, where I was the Senior Vice President of Operations, managing about 1,200 trucks across the U.S. So again, I'm an operator at heart with majority of it in operations, so I definitely understand the challenges that you all face every day. One thing that I love about my career is that I've always loved the entrepreneurial environment, right? Places that are focused on growth, innovation, opportunity. And that's exactly why I'm here. when I go through and I look through everything that we have, it's amazing. And Terry's commitment to creating the opportunity and taking care of people is what sets us apart. Now, as Chief Commercial Officer, my job is simple: drive growth, create opportunities for all of us. And like Terry said today, we are in a strong position. We are bucking trends, and the momentum is very real. And I'm excited about it because I can tell you right now that that 36 million is still got room to grow. What I like also about, representing TLI is our team, right? We've built a very powerful, dedicated presence. And thanks to all of you and our drivers, we can deliver services other people cannot even come close to. I've been at companies where we've tried to do teams. It doesn't work. It's a big mystery. We don't know. Okay. Here, I'm amazed. And kudos to, Danny and the recruiting and retention groups, all the teams that we bring in, right? It's no mystery here for us. And that is something that fires me up every day because I know we have the ability to service it. Now, as the market goes, they see it too, right? I will tell you, two major retailers, and one of them happens to be there in Arkansas right now, is commented on how big of an improvement we've seen in our scorecards across that. The conversations are not, can you perform? It's how do we support your growth building? That is a game changer for all of us because when we walk into meetings, we have confidence now. We can proudly say, look, we can deliver what we provide. And that is all thanks to all of you, right? You're safe, reliable, on-time performance is our story. And it's an easy story to sell. So on behalf of the business development team, thank you to everybody. Our customers notice, we notice, and that is what's helping drive us be different. So with that, let's keep pushing, keep growing, and show the industry exactly what we can do. Celebrate our wins, learn from our challenges, and continue to move forward because our best is yet to come. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Wade. Appreciate that very much. One thing that over the years I have learned through my own experience is that when you're putting people in front of a customer, the best salespeople are people who have extensive operations experience because they know what they're selling. That matters. Okay, so you can see from Wade's experience, he's got a lot of. He's an operations guy at heart, who's out there selling us and knows what he's doing, knows what we're doing every day, how we make a living. So next, wanted to have Sean McMahon, the guy from the Great White North of Canada that we've imported without tariffs, by the way. And Sean, take it away.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Wade. As Terry mentioned, just a quick little background. I've been in this business for 36 years. Believe it or not, started in this business changing trailer tires. I'll tell you, I didn't really like that part of it, but I seem to love the industry, and I never left. Terry mentioned I'm from a small town outside of Toronto, Canada. Tracy, my wife, myself, and our kids moved to Pennsylvania. As the company I work for, as we expanded from Canada into the U.S. Really enjoyed that time. Really enjoyed the United States, and we made a family decision that you were all stuck with us. So there we are. Terry and I mentioned it's been about 6 weeks, but here's what I would tell you. Terry and I spent a lot of time together. Obviously, we talked about the business and trucking in general, but I think what attracted me most is we talked more about family and culture than we really did about the business. There's lots of truck companies there, lots of opportunities. Terry could have went a lot of different ways and so on and so forth. But I think we connected early because of these pieces of the puzzle. And I would tell you that's why, not the only, but I would tell you that's the main reason I'm at TLI. It's the main reason I quickly picked up my family and moved here to Little Rock. And I can tell you I didn't make the right decision because I made the right decision in the sense that I've now seen it from everybody, not just from the people in this building to the drivers I've met, the conversations I've had this week. Because at the end of the day, trucks are truck, but this is a people business. Family and culture matter, and the companies who figure this out, which I would tell you this one is, we can do better and will do better as a group. It takes a lot of effort, but coming out the other side of this and even through this, the companies like this that are truly committed to that culture and family are the ones that are going to win. The rest of it we'll figure out. So now as a family, you know, we're going to have conversations, we're going to have disagreements, there's the push and pull that goes with this. What I can tell you, especially, you know, to the drivers, I'm committed to giving you an opportunity to be in a safe piece of equipment, operate safely, get your hours, get your miles, and get what we promised you as a pay package. In return, I would ask, same thing, hard work on the other side, a commitment to coming to work. So if we do those things together as a group, everybody will win and we will be a stronger company. I leave you with one example today, and I should mention, and Anna is the driver manager. I won't mention the driver's name, but I received a copy of a note today from a driver. TLI helped us do this for our family. Having great equipment, great miles, and a driver manager that is absolutely amazing contributed to us purchasing this house. And thank you to TLI. So, wife, small child, beautiful pictures. I wish I could show them all. But see, that to me is what makes a company, is when we have that interaction and we can do those things and we have a two-way street. So I would just leave you with, I get a chance to meet a lot more. I can tell you this team is committed to creating an environment that is right for this type of work, right for the family, and we'll do the best by everyone here. So thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it very much. So Katie, I'll hand it over to you in a second here, just for any Q&A. I know that we're probably running a little longer than maybe some people would have preferred, but I could go on for 3 hours and talk about the company. But I just want to go back and recognize, Carrie, Ricky, Tawana, Michael, Cecil, James, and Suzanne. Thank you so much. We're honored that you're here. Tremendous achievement. Thank you so much. Katie?
Yeah, well, it's going to be short and sweet. There was no questions, at least asked in the Q&A. But if you guys do think of questions out there, you are more than welcome to email us. We will get back to you, or give us a call. We'll get back to you and get your questions answered.
Great. Okay. All right. The only question I had was Wade. Wade's a big Indiana fan, and they're probably going to go down this weekend to Illinois, but I won't ask for his feelings on that. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for your time tonight. We really appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.